Well, hey there, everybody. I am super excited to kick off our Business Tip Tuesday, but it's kind of Thursday since I was traveling this week. We sort of move things around, but typically these live videos will be broadcasted on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you can join us for the entire month of February. I have a special guest with me, my wonderful husband, Matthew. He's so excited about this, let me tell you. But you know what, guys? One of the biggest questions that we get is around spouse support, right? That is the one thing that people ask us all the time, and we're kind of like not centered. People ask us all the time about your spouse and how did you get your husband on board and how did you get him to support you in your business? And you know, my husband doesn't support me, or he thinks this is a pyramid scheme. We've gotten it all, and I feel like we've also been through a lot of these things that many of you are talking about. And so what we're gonna do is over the next 4 weeks is kind of take you through our journey in the past 5.5 years to sort of how we got on the same page, sort of the struggles that we've gone through at the beginning, and how we are creating a flow for our life. Now, I will tell you, it is not perfect, and it is a constant balance. This is a non-traditional business, so our life isn't normal, which I don't really think anybody's life is quote unquote normal, but we definitely do the best. And so what we hope is that you will take away some just nuggets of information or just things that we've done together to help you be able to sort of build your own sort of structure and life around this. All right. So anyways, I'm excited to see that you guys are jumping on here, and we've got lots of live people. So if you guys can hear us, just kind of give us a, hey, how are you? And if you have questions along the way, feel free to comment below. So the first thing we want to talk about today is we're going to talk about the first couple of years, like the first 2 years of the business. And one of the biggest things is, you know, how did you get your husband to support you? How did you get him on board at the beginning? So I think let's kind of start and just give them a backstory of who we were 5.5 years ago before Beachbody came into our lives. So you want to start? Want to talk a little bit about your career and stuff?
Sure. So at this time, I was in doing my job at Heinz. I was there probably how many years ago? 6 years ago almost now.
And what's your degree?
Wow.
What degree did you?
I came out of school with a business degree, went into Heinz, did external manufacturing for them. So a very fun job, very stressful job, just a lot of moving dynamics balls. So you're just juggling stuff left and right all day. So, you know, typically leave for work around, you know, be there at 7:15, 7:30, get home around 5:30, 6 o'clock at night. So it's your typical corporate working job nowadays.
Yeah, and you traveled? You traveled a lot?
I did travel quite a bit, you know, just in and out of cities certain days of the week. And, we just had our second child, so it was another thing of, we had Landon, which was Mr. Rambunctious, that would be running around, bouncing off walls, tables, chairs, ceilings, if he could have. So come home from that and then, get one and hang out with the other.
Yeah. So you quit working at Heinz when Bryce was born?
No, like 2 years after.
2 years after? Mm-hmm. So, and then you went to?
I went over to Bear Healthcare, and I was an inventory control manager for them for almost 2 years.
Yeah. Why did you leave Heinz to go to Bear?
More opportunity, it looked like it. It was something that, looking at my progression in Heinz, and something popped up, and it was something that I got my title. I got a much needed raise that we definitely wanted. We wanted to move out of our townhouse. We wanted to move into a house, and financially we wouldn't have been able to do it if we continued at Heinz. At least at that point in time, and
right.
It was something that was a little bit of change of career. It was different industry, which was a big change. So just a lot of dynamics.
And the main reason too that we sort of made those shifts were, when Matt and I, even when we met, there was always this really open communication that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, right? And so I went to school. We met in college. We went to Pitt Johnstown, And that's where we met, and I got my degree, my undergrad in psychology, and I started working as a therapeutic support staff. I started working as a TSS with kids on the autism spectrum. And of course, that doesn't pay very much money at all, but it's kind of one of those things where you love your job, you love the kids that you're helping, and you do it because you love the job. And I knew I needed to go back and get my degree if I wanted to do anything more. So I went back and got my master's degree in special education, knowing full well that I was going to eventually quit because I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. And Matt knew that as well. So I went on and got my education. I had my master's degree in special education, and I was the director of early intervention for a while. And so as we were kind of preparing to start our family, we were living in a townhouse, and we knew that the ultimate goal was for me to stay at home. So when we had Landon, I went from full-time to part-time, and we sort of cut corners there. And then whenever we had Bryce, then I just quit altogether. And so that was really where we kind of became constricted with our finances, with vacations, with any kind of fun money. We stopped going out to eat.
Yeah, 2 kids in diapers and kids that are growing fast. I mean, everybody kind of knows the deal of budget shrink.
Yep. So we didn't have a lot. So, that's kind of us before Beachbody. We were just your typical trying to make ends meet family. And I would say our number one argument was money.
Yep. I'm a saver, she's a spender. And that's one of the,
Yeah. So
we consolidated from 2 checking accounts down to 1 when she decided to go part-time. So then I had not more control, but I had better visibility of where things were going and when. And so the random targets and the random, hey, I was bored today, I didn't know what to do with Landon, so we went out and shopped.
Yeah, I mean, when you're home, you moms, when it's the dead of winter and you need to get out, you go to Target, and you can get out under $100 at Target.
Yes.
So anyway, so that's kind of pre-Beachbody. Now, I hope that sets the stage a little bit, because you guys see us now and you think, it just magically all came together, and it didn't. So, after having Landon and Bryce, I had quit my full-time job. Now we were on a single family income, and it was bare bones. And so I was sort of at this point where I hated the skin that I was really in. I really wasn't confident, and I was looking for a solution for weight loss. And I joined a challenge group with my coach. And so in that process, I really transformed my life, my body, all of that stuff. And so my coach kept approaching me and saying, I think, Melanie, you would be really good at this. And so I signed up to be a coach without Matt's blessing. I asked you if I could become a coach.
And it was hell no.
Yeah. And why? Why would you say it was a no?
A lot of it was, what is a challenge group? What is a coach? What are you going to be doing? I wasn't very in tune with the network marketing's, anything you ever hear of is Amway and bad connotations of it. So when you hear Beachbody and, to back up a quick second of her person who was approaching her, was a old friend of the family at the time. Her husband and I were really, really good friends through high school. And then we had a big falling out. Practically didn't talk, speak, text, anything to him for almost 5 years. And so all of a sudden she, friend requests, and then all of a sudden now, to me, it's like, why, we're not really friends with him. Why are you talking to him? And then she's like, well, it's okay. We're talking Beachbody. Well, okay, what does that mean to me? Oh, we're just doing workouts. Okay. Well, what's it mean? Oh, I don't buy Shakeology. Well, how much is that? $140. No, we don't have that. And, then it comes down to, we had some fights, and she bought it with her birthday money from her grandma. And that's what she wanted, and I didn't really care because it's her spending money at the time. And so then the coaching question came, and she's like, I don't think it's a good idea. I don't understand why or how that she's approaching you for this opportunity, and I think it's a bad move. And so I walked away with the conversation with the understanding she wasn't signing up, and then I see the credit card statement, and then all of a sudden she's like, what's this fee from Beachbody for? So that was the beginning of it.
Yeah, that was the beginning of it, yeah. And I again, he's right. Like, I just said, this is what I was going to do, and this is how it's going to be. But here's the reality. Like, I didn't have any, and Matt and I were actually, as we were preparing with this, he was like, man, I didn't even know you had all these characteristics inside of you, right? Like, he didn't know that I had the ability to do this. He just knew that I loved the workouts and that I loved the programs. But I will tell you, when I started, I didn't have any background. I didn't know what network marketing was. I didn't know what a pyramid scheme was that people were like saying that I was a part of. I had to do my research, and I had to really look into this. All I knew is that I believed in the products and I believed in the programs, and I knew that I could make it work. And I wasn't sure how or what way, but I just got to work. The minute I signed up, I started. And so there's this false understanding that I was a fast grower or that I just caught on really fast. And it wasn't. Matt, because I said I was going to do this, because I said this was my decision, it didn't change the way he felt about the business. And I wasn't really making any money at the beginning because I had no skill. I had no training or anything. Now we have such great systems to plug into, but we didn't have that at the beginning. So Matt, let's just talk about like income in the first couple of months of my business. What did that look like?
There was none. I think the first 9 weeks. Sorry, we have our
Bryce is here. He's hanging out with us.
He's hanging out and throwing the football around. But I mean, I kind of ran back and did some quick reports just to kind of see where we were at. And the first 9 weeks, I think you made a total of $54. And I think one of them was my sister, and
the first 9 weeks?
First 9 weeks. So it was like you had paid for 10 shakes that you had in the morning, something like that. And so, I'm a pretty practical guy. It's pretty easy going. I did a lot with numbers, so I'm like, well, you probably put in 30 hours this week, and you made probably $7.25 over last week, and you're sitting there like, okay, well, you know what? She's liking what she's doing. She's not complaining. She's just kind of plugging away. This will, and at the point at the beginning, I'm like, yeah, this will be a couple week thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is. She likes to talk about it, but is it a fad? Is it a hobby? Is it just something she's going to do for a couple weeks, and then all of a sudden, it goes on the shelf and away it goes. So.
Yeah. But it clearly wasn't. I had a different idea, and I was very driven. I was very motivated. I think the fact that he kind of told me it wasn't going to work, or that I couldn't make it work, kind of fueled my fire a little bit more. But I also really, really loved Beachbody, and I was willing to put in the hard work. And I think that there's that false perception that you just sign up and it just happens. I mean, like Matt was saying, I was working a lot of hours to build up my contacts, to develop relationships with people, to run these groups that were getting people to see like I had value to offer. I was putting in a lot of time and energy to build that base of my business. And during that time, Matt was definitely like, what the heck are you doing? Why are you investing so much time and you're not seeing that return? And I knew that I had to start producing the income. Like, I knew I had to focus on the right behaviors that were going to bring in the income, because that was the only way that I was going to get him to support me. So I was smart in that too. Like, I was definitely focused on building the relationships and but I knew that I had to provide that money too. I had to show him that it was working. So I would say the first 6 months, like after the 90 days, it started to get better, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was a progression.
Yeah.
Like I said, at the time it was, we had there was a launch in there. I forget which product it was.
It was like P90X2 was a launch. There was a launch in December. Yep.
And then so like it would trickle in, and you'd have a good week, and then you'd come trickling back. And when she was saying, she was putting the hours in, you could tell she was putting the hours in, because there wasn't dinner on the table when I would walk in the door, which was something I was accustomed to, used to. Like, walk in the door, you're hungry, we eat, we start our night.
Yeah.
That was delayed. And then all of a sudden, like, hey, I don't have any pants. You haven't done the laundry in a week and a half. Well, what have you been doing?
Yep.
And so you could see the trade-offs are coming, that she was trying to grow this business, and she was trying to do it quietly in the background, but she's still trying to maintain the house, and you have the crazy kids, and you're doing this, and so when it comes to that, that was another point that started to become, there's a money issue that, where she's spending money, she's doing other things that are, working your business, but then there's other things of like just the normal day-to-day stuff that we're sitting there watching and I'm like, what's going on?
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah. So I think the biggest turning point for us was events, actually. It was Summit was the first big event that we attended, and it was a year into the business. It was almost exactly at the year point, just the way we signed up. It was about a year in, and I remember this vividly at that point, even a year in. So for those of you that are even in the first couple of months of your business and your spouse is not supporting you, we went through a whole year of, and when Matt doesn't believe in something or when Matt isn't behind something, he will make your life difficult. And so Matt did everything in his power to kind of make my life difficult in that first year, right?
It doesn't sound that bad, but no, we had our disagreements. There was definitely balance issues, which, you know, I had expectations. She had her dream board that she was working towards, and you know, I still remember, you know, I come home, I have 2 kids and screaming out the walls, and she'll be, I have a fit club. Okay, well, what time will you be back? 8 o'clock. 9:15 rolls in after an hour of calling her phone and saying, where are you? What are you doing? Well, I got talking to somebody and this, and this. And once again, didn't understand the business, didn't understand what are you talking an hour and 15 minutes for? You know, it's like, you said you're working out, you're coming home, let's go.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I just had a perception of, you know, how this is really working. And, you know.
And it was taking away from our family, and you didn't understand, and it was taking away from this family part that we had worked so hard to create, you know, at the beginning. And so Summit came around, and I just said to Matt, you know, I actually didn't want him to go. I really didn't want him to go. But then I said to him, I go, you're going, but if you embarrass me, I'm sending you home on an airplane by yourself. You know, like, that's it. You're going back. And so Summit was a big game changer. And so why, Matt, do you feel like it was a game changer? And let's talk about, before we do that, let's kind of set the stage. What was I was a 1-star, 2-star diamond. No, I was 1 star. I was a 1-star diamond when I went to Summit. So a whole 13 months later, 1-star diamond, I was probably making maybe, $1,500 a week?
Not even that.
Not even that? Okay. All right. So what happened at Summit? What was the game changer?
Well, one of my big things that I did was Melanie's coach at the time, her husband also wasn't a big believer in this either. So, you know, for the local Pittsburgh groups, when we would get together, it was more, we didn't go to support, we kind of fueled fires. So, you know, we'd have the husbands, you'd have a couple drinks, you get some, you know, talking, and you'd have some of that frustration that, you know, it's kind of funny because, you know, what he would complain about would be the same thing I'd be complaining about because of just how.
And it was time away from it. The laundry isn't getting done. What's your wife doing on the computer all day long, you know?
And so it definitely, you know, had different characteristics. So I think the one thing with Summit was, you know, I got introduced to other people outside. So this wasn't just a, you know, Matt issue. This was, you know, you kind of saw pockets, and you talk to husbands who have been in the business for more than just a couple months, or you've been in this to, you know, a year or two, and people who have seen some success, something, you know, and have been learning to understand the business better. And you know, I really came and grew with some of the husbands that we became really, really close friends, and you know, had different perspectives, and you know, I got to learn a little bit more, and that's what you know, sparked some interests. And you know, my goal in Vegas was to be out until 4 in the morning because I've had 2 kids and you know, we haven't done much. Go party it up, you know, wake up around noon, typical Vegas style, and then show up for a couple events that she was going to be training all day. I just had all day to wonder. So, you know, end up at the pool, have some more conversations, you know, meet a couple other husbands, and, you know, it started to change. And the one day, it was probably the second or third day in, you know, Mel's like, I'm going to be down. I'm going to go to these conferences. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I have my little wristband. So I got my McDonald's at the MGM, and then I walked over and sat in the top row of the event that just kind of Carl was speaking at. I'm like, all right, what's this shit about? I'm going to waste about a half hour because it's probably all I can stomach, and I'm going to turn around and get mad and walk out. and then go to the pool. But it turned out I sat there for 2 hours.
Yeah.
You know, and it was more the perspective, you know, it wasn't a one-trick pony. It wasn't like we had one workout program that they kept trying to sell and sell and sell, and this was going to be that. And, you know, I look back and I'm sitting there, I'm like, all right, these guys have a mission, and their mission's strong. And then they would talk about, you know, a product launch, and then this is what they're doing and why they're doing. And okay, so it kept my interest in there, saying, all right, this thing's got a lot of leg to it. Mm-hmm. You know, whether or not I still believe in it, that's a question. But, you know, I can go back and say, all right, you know, this isn't a one-trick pony, and this isn't your typical, like, I'm going to push products and I'm going to push that. Because that was one of the things I know that I supported Mel, regardless of the financial issues, that she was always, I'm helping one person more at a time. And that was her mission. It was like, I just need to help one more person. Yeah. And, you know, that was one of the things that I would support her no matter if she was or wasn't making money. Because that was one of the things. It's a harder conversation, and that's one of the things that, you know, it's part of marriage is, you know, if she, for example, like I like basketball. She doesn't like basketball, but she'll still go to the game and watch the basketball games with me, right? It might be painful for her, and you might not want to do it as much, but you do it because that's your, you know, that's what you signed up for.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I kind of took a different perspective with once I left there of, all right, instead of me being a naysayer, let me try to be involved. By the way, I'm not a social networking person. Like you said,
He's not going to work the business. I'm not going to ask him to.
No, and like I said, we'll probably get more into what I do and how I help later, but it was more or less, you know, I walked away with that summit of a really good crew of guys I could call, contact, and just, you know, talk and discuss other issues with. And I walked away with, you know what, I think I'm going to try a workout program, which was a shocker because there was no way I was going to do that whenever we were going back and forth. But and I was like, all right, well, and I think that's when I started drinking the shake.
Shakeology, yeah.
Which was also unheard of.
Yeah, yep. So, you know, it took us a year. It took us a year to get to the point where Matt was working out or even participating, to understand of me really being consistent at that. And we were just kind of getting that ball rolling. So for those of you that kind of feel like, oh, they were a fast success, it really wasn't. It wasn't. It took us a lot of time and a lot of communication, and we are going to talk more about that. But as Matt and I were preparing for this, I said, you know, Matt, what piece of advice can you give to other husbands out there that might be watching, or that their wives might share this with them? You know, because I know the early phases are the hardest. Women or men, you know, anybody in this business, the coach is working hard for a little bit of income also, right? It's a lot of investment in the time. It's not that it's going to pay off. You have to wait for that compound effect to take place. So, you know, what can you say to those spouses out there right now in the early stages, to just some encouragement of, like, you know, stick with it? I know you had shared with me 3 things that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, so and this was one of the things that, you know, over the time, you know, when I look back of what she was doing, there was 3 reasons why she was practically doing it: emotionally, physically, and financially. Because those are the 3 hurdles that she was struggling with in her life. And emotional was being connected to doing something more than just being at home with the kids. I know she was going stir crazy. She had bigger ambitions in life. You know, physically, I know she wasn't in the best shape of her life. She was struggling. That's what kind of started this project of the Beachbody and trying to understand. And then financially, you know, like I said, one of the things that we're very grateful for now is that we have the ability to be flexible with that.
Right.
You know, when we didn't, that was a huge battle, issue, concern, and she didn't like that she couldn't go to Target and spend an extra $50 or $100 on not frivolous things, but just stuff that we didn't have to, like, ask what day payday was.
Yeah.
And those 3 things are all kind of play into it. And being the husband, especially, you know, I grew up with, my dad was working, my mom worked after we practically got into more or less
grade school. Yeah.
So you saw that typical lifestyle of, you know, this is what we do, this is how we act, this is what we play, versus, you
traditional.
know, what this is, because social media doesn't stop. It's always constant, and it's a harder thing, you know.
It's non-traditional. Yeah.
So, you know, when she started, I never expected her to be top coach. I never expected her to be in the top 100 coaches. I never expected to even to have any idea who Melanie Mitro was, other than we got our Shakeology, she drank it, and then away we went.
Yeah.
But it all can change. It can change overnight, and it can change because they're putting time, effort behind it. Which, you know, if you were doing this with your job, my wife did not care that I was an inventory control manager at a company. She didn't care that I had to count parts with my team to make the factory go, but she supported me. So, you know, I kind of have to look back and reflect that to say, you know, I'm going to support her with what she does. Even if she had a traditional job, is that something that you want? I mean, there's other things that come with that. So being at home, being with the kids, making a couple extra bucks that can be in her spare time on top of it. And if she's on her computer now working and I'm watching some TV, is that bad of a deal? No. I mean, it's...
Yeah. Because what's the alternative?
Sitting there watching TV, not helping anybody or making some money.
Yeah.
You know...
Or having to go to a job, put our kids in daycare, you know, both of us having to work, or, you know.
Yeah, it's a balance. I mean, you know.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's got to work.
So I just think, you know, and we have had this discussion too, you know, it's just husbands, spouses have to be open-minded and just have to be willing to trust. Trust your spouse, believe in them, confidence in your relationship that, you know, that I wasn't messing around on social media. I was helping people. I was doing what I was saying I was doing. Like, Matt trusted me enough and understood enough to kind of give me that confidence to let me do my thing. So, you know, I think it's just, number one, educating, you know, getting Matt to be educated about what the business was a big reason why he got behind it, and open communication and conversation from both of us, you know, talking about what my goals were, sharing my dream boards, and the biggest thing that Matt would always say is I was so consistent, and that was a big reason why he, even at Summit, just that was kind of a game changer. He saw my passion, saw my belief, saw that I was consistent, saw that I was working hard, and got behind that too.
Yeah, and for the husbands, I challenge you. Go, you know, one of the fun things that I did, because it was super exciting, so when I got home from Summit, I downloaded the, the document from Beachbody of how the business works.
Oh, the policies and procedures.
Yeah.
Oh, you sat and read the whole.
I was at work one day, and I downloaded, printed out, and I understood kind of how the business ran, what the compensation plans were, what she was doing when she was talking about a Success Club point, or how she's trying to make, you know, an elite point and work that. You know, that was something I was like, all right, well, what does this now add up to? Because she got this and this and this, or, you know, it's Wednesday night and she's going crazy to try to make sure she gets her Success Club point, and what that means to them, you know, and, you know, how do you make money? How is she doing some of these things? Because, you know, sometimes I know her. She doesn't know finances. She doesn't
I just help
see
people.
that. Yeah, she helps the people. So, you know, that was something that, you know, just check it out. Give it a shot. Give it a chance.
And understand. Make yourself educated before you make a judgment call. You know, like, even when people say it's a pyramid scheme, well, do you know what that is? Like, do you know that that's illegal? I mean, most people don't. They just quickly make an assumption before they have the facts. And so I think if you want to make a judgment call, you got to make sure that you also have the facts first too. So anyways, anything else you wanted to throw in there? No? All right, so this is our first week of our series. I hope you guys are loving this. Next week, we are going to get into a little bit more of like policies, or not, I just read the comments, that's why I said that. Time management. So how did we sort of change? Because you heard us say today that the laundry wasn't getting done, dinners weren't getting cooked, house was sort of a mess. Was a mess. I agree. I hands down agree. I literally opened the drawer and shoved everything in and closed it before he got home, right? But we're going to talk a little bit about that. There was a breaking point. There was a change. Then there are things that we've done over the course of the next few weeks. We're also going to talk about then the next week, we're going to talk a little bit about Matt's role, because clearly he's not at his full-time job right now. He's sitting here with me at home, which I love having him here.
Private chef.
Private chef. Well, he's a really good cook. But we're going to talk about how our roles have changed and how we've worked this business together, you know, over the years. So, so we're excited to share this with you guys. We hope this, guys, gives you a lot of just motivation. We hope this gives you some understanding, and just also just the don't give up. If you love your business and you love and you have a vision, you have a mission, and you're working hard, and you're getting results, right, and you're focused on the right activities, like, you can make this work. Eventually, hopefully, your spouse will come around too. So anyway, share this with them. We're gonna put this on Facebook, or on Facebook, YouTube, and you can go pull it and share it with your teams as well. So thanks, babe, for doing this with me. I thought I did a good job, right? Actually, you did a great job. I'm real proud of you. Speaking skills are coming along.
Whatever.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. We will see you next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bye, guys. It'll be back to Tuesdays. Yep.